Greetings, everybody. I'm going to be very transparent in this video, just in case there's someone else feeling the same way I do. Every so often, I get a very distinct feeling that Spirit says, right now where you're at, you're going to have to figure it out. There are times when you could pray all you want and you could do what is needed to connect you to Spirit. There's certain things in life that you're going to have to do. See, God is not going to do what you can do for yourself. And so during this time, if you're like me, you'll feel very lonely. You'll feel like disassociating yourself from people, because I personally don't like to be vulnerable, because oftentimes people will take advantage or disadvantage of your vulnerability. And in this very serious time, um, with this kind of economy, a lot of people are feeling it. And so you'll have people who are dealing with things financially, they're dealing with emotional things, they're dealing with spiritual battles. And just imagine one person having to navigate their way around all of this. I think that's where I'm at. But I always think there's always grace. So you won't get more than you can cope with, I guess. I don't think anyone in the world has everything right. Sometimes your relationship is fine, sometimes your finance is okay, sometimes you might have both, but there's always something. Sometimes while everything is okay in these areas, your health is not the best. Right now, my mental health is not the best. Even though a lot of, these chips are falling in the right space, there's so much going on at the moment with me. So yesterday I had a good cry, because we're allowed to have a good cry, because sometimes that's how you release your stress. I wear a lot of hats, and I'm expected to function in all these different roles, and sometimes people don't realize how much it is until I cry out. Every so often I'll throw my hand up in the air and say, okay, you need to take over this. I want to talk about the economy in Canada at the moment, and so many people facing so much economic hardship. And if you are like me, when you see that it's important for you to scale back, you're not going to do so with reservation. So for me, something that, like pampering myself, like getting my nails done. I don't even I don't even want to show my hand. I'm ashamed to show my hand right now because of some of the things that I've been doing in the last 2 months. I just decided that I couldn't do my nails anymore, even though it brought me joy. Um, for some people, a coffee, they have to give up their coffee. And someone will say, yes, that's the right thing to do. But something as simple as a coffee when you're working 40 hours or more per week, it is kind of sad, because it might be the only little thing you got that makes you feel good. So it would be easy for me to come and say to you, just don't buy coffee anymore. Just scale back on that, or don't get your nails done. Maybe I can stop doing my nails, but it's not right for me to tell you that you shouldn't. So people are losing their homes. People are in a position where they cannot afford their rent, and they're working 40 hours or more. Some people have more than one job and they're barely getting by. It's heartbreaking. Now, a lot of time when there downturn in the economy, people struggle with their mental health. Their stress levels get higher. They're cutting back. People are cutting back on groceries. People are cutting back on not just, cosmetic things, but leisure. And my thing is, if you're going to live your life and you cannot do little things to make yourself feel happy, the question is, isn't that time to reassess? Because we live in first world countries, but sometimes the life we live is less than good quality. And everywhere in the world, people are having problems, financial and otherwise. So it's nothing, particular about this place. But there's a certain part of me that says some of these individuals who've done the worst, to make other people's life miserable, sit on their $8 sign, reaping the rewards of your hard labor. You are the one who go out there and turn the wheels in the economy. And oftentimes it's the one who works the hardest, struggle the most, have the least. Now, for me personal, cutting back on this or that, still moving forward with any plans that I might have, and looking towards the future is something that I continue to do. But in times like this, when you go face to face with your creator, whomever you perceive to be your guide or your God, I ask questions, because times like this, I say or feel that I carry, as I said before, the weight of the world. Times like this, I show up for other persons, but when I am in dire emotional support, I often don't feel comfortable sharing with people, to be honest with you, opening up. And what happens to me is that usually this level of stress brings me back to my childhood. And so I talk about these traumas all the time. It's just something that you live with, you learn how to live with. And sometimes it seems like you master coping, and then there are other times when you break. Um, so going back to these past traumas and dealing with current circumstances, you want to make sure you're making the right choices. I think that is the most stressful thing. You want to make sure that what you're doing is the right thing. And then sometimes for me, spirit says or leads me towards making certain decision. And even though I trust that the spirit will not mislead me, I am still human. And I still have to go through this, you know, thing called life, knowing that some of what I'm relying on the Spirit to do for me, essentially, I have to do for myself. And it's hard. And I know maybe I'm not being specific enough, but it's hard. And there's some things that you kind of wish you could just open up and share with somebody, but I just don't trust people like that. And I don't want to burden anyone either, because I know that whatever I'm feeling, it's energy, and I don't want to pass it on to anyone. So if you're someone who's going through financial hardship, or if you're forced to make a decision and you know that it's going to work out in the end because you trust God, But it's still that thing where you have to still go through it, and you're going to physically feel, fear, even though it's not something that you want to entertain, but it's going to show up. And at that point, you're asked to have faith. That's kind of a kind of blind faith to say, I think you're asking me to do this, Spirit. And I trust that you have never misled me. But you still feel it in your spirit. You feel overwhelmed. I feel so overwhelmed, people. And when you give up those little joys in life, it's never an easy thing. And you come to question God, which people think is presumptuous, but sometimes you have to. I question God all the time to say, did you bring me into this world to be the carrier of burden for other persons? What about me? Those are questions I ask from time to time because I've always felt like I carried the weight of the world on my shoulder. I'm there for people. Even when I'm dying inside, somehow I get the feeling that the great universe brought me here to help solve problems of other persons. And then when I get that feeling, that overwhelming feeling, like, what about me? I throw my hand up in the air and say, I just don't want to be there for people. I want to just go into my own little cocoon, have my pity party, but I'm never really given that luxury. And it's hard for me to see someone going through things and just need a word of encouragement and just put myself, it's okay to put yourself first, but to just, perhaps it helps me just set aside my own grievance or my own situation that I'm going through. And maybe when I speak to somebody and encourage them and I see where they feel better, maybe it helps me somewhat. Life has to be more than just going to work, coming back home, sleeping, eating, and running again. There's something wrong with that picture. It's more, should be more at least than that. The greatest time for me, or the happiest time for me, is during the summer months when I can get into my garden, plant my flowers or tend to it, go for walks. Because I live in a cold country with at least 10 months where it's cold, it's debilitating. So these are the times when I'm saying, okay, Spirit, I have been asking for a particular thing for many, many years. And though I had the opportunity to escape for a little while, I came back and that was fear. And I'm there again and I'm looking at some material things. It's just not working out for me. It's not bringing the joy. There's no retail therapy that's helping me. And I have to put that under subjection now too to make proper financial decisions. Because I know what it's like to face bankruptcy. I know what it's like to go sit in front of somebody and say, hey, here are my bills. I'm drowning. I remember that. And I don't ever want to get back to that place. But there are many of you who are facing the decision to buy food or pay rent. That cannot be a good place to be at. And there's some of you who have been there for other people financially, and when it was your turn, you never saw anybody or you never felt there was anyone you could turn to. I kind of feel like that way sometimes to say, I would just dole out money like that to people when they're in need. But, never felt like there was anybody in my life that I could, put that kind of burden on. By the way, if you owe me money, this is a good time to call me and give it to me. And if you're thinking of borrowing, don't even think of it. People, you have to learn to say no. When you're facing certain decisions in your life, you have to learn to say no. Because sometimes we give so much of ourselves to other people, we deny ourselves. And when it's time for you, you don't see any of these people. I'm going to say to anyone who is facing any financial hardship or any financial decision to say, well, I'm either going to have to hold back or roll back some of these expenses. I'm going to have to make these sacrifices because I have to look at the picture down the road. If you're feeling like you're drowning in debt, if you feeling like, you have aspiration, you have dreams, but it makes for great sacrifice. If you feel like you're there for other people and there's no one for you to turn to, you feel lost, you feel alone, you feel overwhelmed, this video is for you. If I can leave you with this, things are going to turn around. This is just a tough time and it's not a forever season. We all go through different levels of exhaustion or stress or uncertainty, whether it be economy or spiritual or financial, or your relationship is shambles. You will not get more than you can bear. Because there's a lot of things that is just on my shoulder and is very overwhelming, but there are things that is going right, and I'm grateful for those things. And it's okay to cry, and it's okay to say I'm tired, and it's okay to delegate and to step back. It's okay for you to be honest with yourself. Look in the mirror to say, listen, I am in debt. I'm in financial debt, and I'm going to have to do something about it. Sometimes it means consolidating your debts. Sometimes it means bankruptcy. And no one wants to go there, but if you have to, because at the end of the day, your health is your wealth. And you can't keep up with the bills, then there's nothing else you can do. The relationship isn't going right. Maybe you just have to let go. Things with the kids, with your health. Be encouraged. We're all facing some degree or some level of hardship in our life right now. Cry if you have to. Take a day off here and there. People hurt you, just tell them, whatever you feel like telling them. Sometimes it means just closing yourself off to the world and facing. Because sometimes before the storm ends, all that chaos, just before the break of day is the darkest part of the night. I feel like I'm going through that right now. But I'm going to be okay, and so will you be. All right? Cry if you feel like crying. Scream, yell. Just say, forget it. Move. Quit whatever is important for you to get back your peace. Do it. Stay blessed, everyone.